From the Opubco studios at Britton and Broadway, this is the OSU Sports edition of the Bedlam Nation Conversation with Andrea Cohen. I'm Jenni Carlson. Andrea, let's start with spring football. Cowboys not quite done. Have another week. Their spring concludes with their spring game this Saturday. But backup quarterbacks has been a real area of emphasis this spring. Talk a little bit about what you've seen and what you've heard about the backup quarterback situation.
Well, it's kind of the same two guys that were doing this last spring, and as it kind of came out later, Mike Gundy really felt like neither guy stepped up and showed. It wasn't like they were both stepping up and you couldn't decide. It was that he didn't feel like either one was stepping up. This spring, he sounds like he's been a little bit happier with the way they performed. And after Friday's practice, he really went on and on about how Brandon Whedon's been doing. He's, obviously the big, powerful arm from those years playing baseball and all of that. But he was saying that he's been looking really good. So it kind of sounds like a little bit, he said, I have to go back and watch the tape and we got to see more live and all of that. But it sounds like he's been pretty pleased with the way he's been playing.
How important is that backup quarterback situation? Because Zach Robinson, obviously the incumbent starter, is strongly in that position. But is it a concern that they might need one of these guys at some point? And boy, you want to have somebody ready. How much of a concern is it really?
The fact that they made it through all of last year without at any point having that be a major issue is kind of unbelievable. I mean, you just can't believe that. And your nerves, I think, Mike Gundy made the joke about it at Media Day last year. Oh yeah, I think about it every night before I take a sleeping pill and go to sleep. I mean, that's something that I think these guys kind of lay awake worrying about. So you want to feel comfortable and confident with that guy. I don't think either one is probably going to challenge Zach at all, anything like that, but you just want to feel like you got a backup that you trust.
Let's turn our attention now to basketball. You wrote a little bit today in your Oklahoma State Basketball Insider about replacing Byron Etan. Obviously, that point guard position, vital for any basketball team. What is the situation with point guard? Because while Byron had his ups and downs, his peaks and valleys with the Cowboys, he was the guy for 4 years. Talk about replacing him.
The Cowboys it's kind of a big role to fill, just because Byron's also kind of a personality on that team. And so I think people are going to look to that position for leadership, and it's going to be a bunch of freshmen, so they're going to have to look elsewhere maybe. But they have three guys, freshmen, that they've signed coming in, and all three can play. And it's kind of interesting, kind of the front runner, the highest ranked guy is Ray Penn, who's a little tiny guy out of Texas. He's 5'8", maybe. He's a little quick guy who can shoot the three. And he last summer really exploded on the AAU scene. That big tournament in Las Vegas, he just went off and became a big deal, and that's Oklahoma State got him soon after that. And so he seemed like kind of the most likely candidate. But then Fred Gully, the kid from Arkansas, who was the first commitment Oklahoma State's new staff got, he had a really good year. Been reading a whole bunch of stuff about people saying, his high school season was just by far the best basketball he ever played. He was the player of the year in Arkansas for the second year in a row. So he seems like a pretty good player. And then Roger Dowell is the kid from the really, really, really good high school team down in Dallas area, Duncanville, and he's played at a very high level, very highly ranked high school team. So yeah, they have three guys that it should be kind of a fun little competition. I'm sure their pickup games during the summer will be entertaining.
Well, they have a while to figure this out. A team that doesn't have a lot of time to figure things out is the Cowboy Baseball team. They went to Kansas this weekend, got swept by the Jayhawks for the first time in over a decade at Kansas. What's wrong with Cowboy Baseball right now?
It kind of seems like it's a combination of quite a few things. I think some of their pitching hasn't been as good as expected. Andy Oliver's their ace, and who's obviously been a whole lot of drama during the offseason with his eligibility and all that kind of stuff. But he's struggled, and then just the offense isn't going. I mean, they're scoring one run, and they're just kind of not quite getting it together. So they will try to get that fixed this weekend. Baylor comes to town, kind of a big sports weekend at Oklahoma State, between the spring game and Baylor series and all of that. But yeah, so they'll try to get that figured out for Baylor. But right now they're really struggling. 9th place in the Big 12, and that is not at all what was expected of them.
No, definitely not. Thanks, Andrea. We appreciate it. Stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.